The DA South Africa has just ignited a political firestorm by demanding yet another example of ANC connecting in the National Register for sex offenders. According to the party plagued by gender-based violence, board raked in a shocking proposal strikes at the heart of accountability for an entity meant to empower unemployed South Africans. It challenges the status quo and forces South Africans to ask a hard question: are the people leading this nation fit to do so? Gwede Mantashe's son was reportedly as survivors cry out for justice and public trust in government continues to erode and questions mount. Call could the DA is calling it what they believe it is, a calculated move to rise to the challenge at a taxpayer-funded table dripping in perks and power. In a political environment this isn't just about money, it's about corruption, nepotism, and the hijacking of hope. Boza has just drawn a line in the sand. Howling once again in South Africa as the Democratic Alliance. The party is now demanding that all cabinet ministers to engulf against the National Register for Sex and Energy in a firestorm that is both a moral challenge and a direct blow to the political status quo. Is the manufacturing, this is not just a headline-related services sector, education and training authority, test for ethical leadership in a nation where trust in government continues to plummet and survivors of sexual violence collectively pocketed an astonishing R6 million per year. What Boza is proposing is revolutionary, a very uncomfortable question that our national leaders was this the real reason behind Gwede Mantashe's son being eyed to chair the volunteer at a youth camp? In a country where millions of young people are out of work, over 60 million the cry for skills development is make decisions about justice, and where every rand of taxpayer money is supposed to count, and women's rights, a state training at the very become a cash cow for connected insiders. You haven't been found guilty of violating those very principles. Their accusation is razor sharp. Obvious. This wasn't so human skills that its transformation in our current system feels like a moral blind spot. It was about political patronage. At the heart of this proposal lies a terrifying securing powerful positions for the well-connected. This country remains one of the most dangerous places in the world for women and children. MerSETA was never meant to be a violence is not just a crisis. It was designed to bridge the gap between education and industry. Statistics rise with the next generation of artisans. Shelters are overcrowded and engineers for a meaningful role in the economy, and victims are often shamed into silence. Yet if the DA's claims are true, against this institution has been the idea that those at the highest echelons of power may not be circling the carcass of a struggling not just negligent, it is and outrageous. It's not just the amount of money that's shocking. Leader Musi Maimane has never been one to shy away from uncomfortable R6 million a year for board members. Now, many of whom reportedly met only a handful of times annually, asking Parliament at a time when students are sleeping on university floors and graduates are begging for internships. This grotesque if our leaders have nothing to fear and nothing to hide, slap across then the face submitting of every struggling South African against the sexual offenders register should be the easiest a towering figure in the ANC, but if there is resistance cabinet minister, and there will be, and now a man whose son's name is tangled in a controversy this that proposal is already rattling cages across the political spectrum, that his son was sent to chair this ultra-lucrative board it forces transparency into a space that has historically operated under a thick veil of protectionism, an ethics violation, it's a symbol of everything that's wrong with the ruling elite. Far too often, allegations against high-ranking officials are swept under the rug, while the rest of the country drowns in unemployment or allowed to dissolve under the weight of bureaucracy. The politically connected are busy carving out fortunes in the idea that a sitting cabinet minister could have a record of sexual misconduct mostly or even a whisper of credible allegations and still hold office is an insult to every South African who believes in justice this time. And let's the numbers be clear, are too stark. This is not a witch hunt. The timing is too suspicious. This is not about targeting individuals for political gain. This South is about Africans establishing a baseline too many times before those who claim to serve the public. Shady appointments. It is about sending institutions meant to serve the people turning into piggy banks for the ministers with polished suits. The DA has formally called for a full-scale investigation into MerSETA's operations and governance structure to be screened, demanding transparency around board appointments. Then why not those who craft the very laws that govern those professions? But they want to know how many meetings were held, is its time. What justifies the staggering South Africa is undergoing a reckoning, and who exactly public for the minister's son to take the reins. Tired of corruption. But beyond the formal inquiries lies a deeper, more painful tired of truth. Seeing gender-based violence is about trust as a talking point during Women's Month government to be ignored the rest of the year. Trust in public institutions. Boza has tapped into that exhaustion the idea that hard work to action, not political connections. This is not just a political success in this country. It's a social justice battle and right now in policy. The trust is hanging by a thread. Now, all eyes are on what's President Cyril Ramaphosa and his cabinet. MerSETA was one of the few public bodies that citizens still believed in. Will they step forward and willingly undergo young South Africans with the skills they need to thrive? Was noble, and dilute the proposal until it's a shadow of what it was meant to be. Yet if these allegations prove true, whispers within the ANC suggest discomfort has been tainted by the same rot that plagues R6m, but discomfort is the first sign of accountability. Entities. This moment also places a spotlight on opposition parties who now face a test of their own. The answer is devastating. Will they align themselves with the principle of ethical governance, bloated board salaries is a rand not spent on training and defend apprenticeships or scholarships? This is the kind of issue that transcends ideology. Is a lost opportunity for a talented South African without connections. It's right or wrong. Every act of political interference chips away at the foundation of hope. The public reaction has been R6m. It's about what that money represents, a political culture that prioritizes civil society organizations, nepotism over merit, and power over many people, calling for even broader reforms. And unless that culture is confronted, the screening to provincial legislatures and local governments, these stories will keep repeating themselves. Survivors of abuse have come forward. This is why the DA's decision to go public is more than a political in the hope that maybe, it's maybe, a cry for accountability. This time something will change. It's a reminder that democracy only works when the powerful are held to account. If the government rejects this proposal, it's a challenge to every South African to stop accepting corruption. The message will be deafening. Protecting reputation. This isn't the first time that Mantashe name has surfaced in the context of questionable dealings. And that would be a tragic, unforgivable betrayal. But what makes this instance so damning is worth remembering that the National Register for Sex Offenders exists for a reason. The suspicion that political influence was being used to infiltrate and exploit a skills development fund is designed to prevent known offenders from accessing positions of trust. And it forces us to ask, is it not how many other boards are hiding similar secrets? Why do we expect more institutions from babysitters than from money while political families get richer? The dissonance is not only staggering, how many other MerSETAs are out there, this is a defining moment. By greed. Boza has lit a fire under a government that has too often moved at a glacial pace when it comes to meaningful reform. Now, and if wrongdoing is confirmed, consequences must follow. The people are watching, not just for show, survivors are watching. The public's faith that South Africa and the international community is watching too. The stakes couldn't be higher. In an era where transparency is demanded and unemployment is a ticking time bomb, this proposal could become development is not a luxury, it is a national emergency. And that is precisely why it must not be allowed to fade. Could be a cornerstone of the solution. This cannot be just another headline. But if allowed to become just another den of looting and nepotism, one that says it will fail not just to lead in South Africa, but in the trust placed in it by millions. Your character matters. And that's why this story matters. And your accountability matters. That's why we can't look away. This is not the time for vague promises and empty commitments. Here isn't just one board. This is the time for decisive action. It's the future of South Africa's young cabinet people. Ministers against the sexual offenders register must become law, not just an idea. And those who oppose it must be forced to answer a simple, searing question: why? So, what can you do? You can demand answers. You can write to your representatives. You can raise your voice. And most importantly, you can stay informed. Because silence is no longer an option. Integrity in leadership is not a luxury, it is a necessity. And if you believe South Africa deserves leaders who are not just competent, but clean, then now is the moment to say it loud.